Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our second budget workshop. Mr. Ongley, can you please call attendance?
Joe Abdallah.
Here.
Vicky Salem.
Here.
Stephanie Kolnick.
Here.
Jesse Liebman.
Here.
Angela Macurulo.
Here.
Alex McNaughton.
Here.
Justin Ongley. Here. Jen Pody.
Here.
Jane Sargent. Pete Tagley. Mary Weber. And Christine Weidig.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comment. First, we ask that everybody will have 3 minutes to speak. And when you go up to the podium, just please say your name and what town you're from. No. Nope, that's different.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eric Sootbeer, Town of Bridgewater, also an elected selectman from the Town of Bridgewater. I'm going to be joined by Carolyn Dwyer and Eric Gazelle also. That's okay. In my opening remarks, I would like to thank the board for the opportunity. I had the opportunity to go to school here. I don't know how many people went to school here, but I did. I came out of this middle school 50 years ago. I have children that graduated from here, and I have grandchildren that are going to be entering soon. So it's kind of neat to be a part of this whole program that we have here. One of my reasons for addressing the organization tonight was, as an elected official, in attending the past couple of meetings, I am tasked with being able to relate to my constituency how I feel about how the board is giving information to me to help sell the board's direction, so to speak. And one of the things that has always been a topic to us was our school enrollment. And you had a really good report that was put out from Dr. Prada. And that report, unfortunately, had some miscalculations in it a little bit. The numbers some places didn't add up. So we set that aside and took it for what it was. But within that conference, that application, I listened to the superintendent tell me that he found $518,000 within the budget that they were able to renovate or repair this library. Now, if I'm wrong in what I heard, please correct me. But with those comments that were made, I found it, and he, quote unquote, said through hypervigilance that you were able to come up with that number to make repairs. I would have thought that would have been a capital improvement that the residents of the different towns would have the opportunity to vote on, so to speak. So when I hear those two things and people say to me, well, what do you think? I said, well, I can't answer the question about the dollar amount that they found extra in their budget. So that's one thing, which was a fairly large amount, if I'm correct. The second was that we paid for a report that technically didn't give us all the information we needed, but we moved forward with a vote to, I believe, I think when I attended, that we're going to spend money to look into renovating the schools, if I'm correct, and possibly look into building a new or a consolidated school with two towns, keeping Bridgewater maybe out of that because Bridgewater has already said that they don't want to do that. You're shaking your head, so please correct me. You can't. Okay. So with that in mind, I have an issue with how I sell this board's vision to my constituents. And in doing that, I feel that I'm not getting enough information. If it's my fault, then so be it. Please educate me. There's a front door to the selectman's office and to the town of Bridgewater where we can get that information rather than it coming in from different angles. And when I say different angles, I think people have reached out to other entities rather than the Board of Selectmen to share their concerns. I would hope that it would come through the Board of Selectmen going forward. And I apologize, you have looks on your face like you have no clue what I'm talking about. So when I sit in that chair in the past 3 meetings, I write things down, and unfortunately, I have questions. So I thank the board for the opportunity. I appreciate what you do. It's not easy. We're all elected officials, and we all have to answer to people. So I would hope going forward that any other questions I would have, you could get back to me on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Evening. Sorry, I was a little late. Eric Gazelle, I'm the first selectman of Bridgewater. I attended your workshop. Well, first off, thanks for having me here, Board of Ed Superintendent. Nice to see everybody. Attended the workshop last week. I've mentioned to Nicole and Don in January, to this board in February. I've had my Board of Finance meeting last week. And again tonight, I remain deeply concerned about a trend that began last year, has continued this year, and appears likely to persist in the years ahead. This dynamic has a direct and significant impact on our mill rate in Bridgewater, on the taxes paid by our residents, both of which increased last year. This year, we're now facing an additional mill rate pressure. Even with a 0% municipal budget in our town, that pressure will still exist. If our mill rate continues to rise, it will also affect student enrollment by discouraging families from moving to our town. The components and the challenges, it creates long-term consequences for both the town and the region. We believe it's urgent that we work collaboratively with you over the coming year to identify sustainable regional solutions. Specifically, we were asking that the board move decisively towards resolutions on the future of our elementary schools, as well explore new potential revenue streams and creative approaches to addressing the approximately 97% of the budget that is considered fixed. I'm available, I'm willing, I'm here to assist in developing those solutions and to brainstorm alongside you in support of this outstanding school region. So I thank you for the time this evening.
We'll make it a trifecta. Good evening. My name is Carolyn Dwyer, and I'm a selectman from Bridgewater. My fellow selectmen and I are all here tonight, as you know, to voice our concerns on behalf of the residents of Bridgewater. We also represent a range of political parties. This 3.11 gross, 2.96 net budget isn't just about what it's saying, it's about what it's not saying. Our budget is going up roughly $1.2 million in gross this year. That is not a small number, and the smallest community is taking the hit for that increase, like we did last year, and we are expected to next year, and possibly for a few years after that. If the trend holds without drastic steps taken, the three communities will roughly be sending the same number of children in our elementaries in 10 years. WPS currently has 104 resident students and is slated to have 78 in 2035. For context, that would be a decline in WPS's student population by 25%. At that point, all three communities would roughly have the same percentage of students. As we have said, in 1967, when we entered this deal, the expectation was the two smallest communities would provide 25% of the students, and the largest community would provide the remaining 50%. If that core deal is changing, we need to come up with ways to relook at the original deal and make changes so Bridgewater, one of your partners, can survive. We are being told that only 3% of that budget is not fixed. That raises an important question. All scenarios should be considered within the intermunicipal group so that we can honor the priorities of each community and explore solutions that work for all. As I suggested in our Board of Finance meeting this past week, we also need to relook at starting some sort of 501c3 endowment fund to fund some of these items. Bridgewater remains steadfast in its desire to maintain a balanced community anchored by a thriving elementary school in the heart of our town, exceptional teachers, and engaged young residents who volunteer for our fire department and serve on our local boards and commissions. We value our schools, our teachers, and our students, but it's time to urgently look for new solutions. Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Hello, I'm Greg Dembowski, a resident of Bridgewater. Your proposed budget of $26.6 million and projected student population, not including students attending from outside Region 12, is 559 students. That's an average cost per student of $45,900. Bridgewater abuts to other towns who have been having a steady declining school enrollment for years. In Brookfield, for example, they've been losing an average of 22 students per year for the past 10 years, 220 students, and that's well below the peak of even a decade before then. In Brookfield, the cost per student is $22,200. In Newtown, it's $21,700. Said another way, Region 12's education cost per student is double that of those towns also abutting Bridgewater. Region 12's education cost per student is double. Bridgewater taxpayers would benefit greatly by considering joining those school districts. Brookfield just completed a $78 million middle school expansion. I think we can keep our elementary students at Burnham, and I think there's room in Brookfield for our middle school and high school students based on the student enrollment that that town used to have, for example. Maybe then if we consider that, you'll take a hard look at your budget for this district. Other towns in our region have grown. Over the past couple of years, they've bifurcated their budget referendums, splitting the vote from the school and the municipal budget. They have done so because they are fed up with the out-of-control school budgets. Maybe it's time for Bridgewater to change its town charter and do the same thing. Also, the method used to allocate cost among the schools is flawed. Changing that methodology to a more equitable one is long overdue, maybe considered by grand list or other methods I think already mentioned. I understand the things that I'm talking about can't be done overnight. It took years for you to dig the hole that we are now in, and now it will take some time to get out of it. But we must get started now with this year's budget. To the Bridgewater members on the Board of Ed, I ask you to continue to advocate for residents in our town. I am also calling on the First Selectman, Gazelle, to create a charter revision commission to bring to the residents changes to the town charter that would include bifurcating our budget referendum. They deserve the choice to vote for municipal and budget separately. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Tara Flaherty. I'm the Chippewa Valley Education Association president. On behalf of our teachers, I want to express our strong support for the proposed school budget. The 2.96% increase before you is both responsible and necessary. In fact, it's below the current rate of inflation and below other proposed school budgets in surrounding towns, which makes this a careful and measured proposal. This budget reflects thoughtful planning. It provides the resources our teachers need to do their jobs well and ensures our students continue to receive the high-quality education our community expects. At the same time, it recognizes the fiscal pressures facing our residents and remains respectful of our taxpayers. Every day, our educators work hard to support students academically, socially, and emotionally. The tools, staffing, and programs included in this budget help make that work possible. Investing in our schools is ultimately an investment in our community's future. We believe this proposal strikes the right balance, supporting student success while maintaining fiscal responsibility. For these reasons, the Teachers Union respectfully urges the board to approve this budget and move it forward. Thank you for your time and for your continued commitment to our schools and to our students.
Good evening, Board of Ed. I do not have a prepared speech like many of those before me. My name is Julie Hendy, and I am a resident of Bridgewater and a long time Region 12 community member. I attended this school, and my child attended this school, and I have another one baking. So I have a lot invested in both the betterment and strategic long-term planning from a community standpoint and the school. This is a workshop. Part of my job is to do that. I want to discuss, and I have pointed questions about the budget and potential strategic proposals to provide savings or maybe where things could have been overlooked. I know I have brought some of those questions up, so I'm not going to bring them up right now. One of my general comments would be, in most of the overall summaries I've seen, the agri-science program is seen as a revenue, but the expenditure isn't also there. That's one example of how I don't want to call it misrepresentation, but it doesn't give us a full picture where agri-science isn't just a revenue, it's a cost. So I want to look at those types of things. I have the full budget and I'm going to do a more detailed look. I have pointed questions that might help open some of our eyes and are meant to be a positive, strategic, outreach on behalf of our community and in alignment with our selectmen. I'm also a Board of Finance member in Bridgewater and happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks. Okay. So moving on now to the actual budget workshop, I'm going to actually move on to the actual board. First, does any of board members have any questions in regard to the budget workshop? Comments, questions? Nothing?
I just want to make a comment that the handouts that Nicole has given us recently show some changes, but not changes in the numbers, but more changes in language, punctuation, things of that nature. Also, there was, as I understand it, a correction made to some numbers from 3 or 4 years ago that were misrepresented, and those were corrected. But that was only for a matter of comparison.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Are there any other comments or questions before we move on to our Q&A session? No? Okay. So as we move on to the Q&A, I would like to just state a few guidelines. It's going to be similar where we have 3 minutes. Obviously, state your name and town again. And we are going to stick to the questions being simply this budget. We're not going to get into the weeds by asking about specific questions to previous budgets. We're going to stick to this. So with that being said, if there is somebody who has a question, you can come up.
Mike Scalzo, Bridgewater, Connecticut. Can somebody please tell me the definition or what this is? Tuition, special education, public school, and
What can you tell us what page?
12. Page 12, number 561, 563, 564. This is a $200,000 increase to our budget.
Mm,
And if somebody could explain to me what those are. that'd be
Sure.
great.
Nicole?
Page 12 feet. The lines that you asked a question about are special education costs for placing students both in outside public institutions and outside private institutions. And the increase relates to 2 new outplacements of special education students.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
What is driving the cost? Do you increase 107% to 33%?
One student outplacement generally costs in excess of 6 figures, and we have 2 new outplacements.
Somebody else have a question? Well, it's a Q&A. So if it's a question, that's what we're having. Comments were during public comment.
Um,
I'm sorry?
I'll phrase it as a question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If we're expecting people to react to this right now, but they're just getting it, how can they make solid determinations and ask those questions?
So
Respond to that.
Please.
Yeah,
'Cause we
what are you
don't see it-
saying?
We didn't see it online.
What are you saying you just got now? The budget?
So this, yes, line by line budget. We have the superintendent's presentation online,
okay.
but for our public to see this, I think people are just getting it.
Okay, I don't know what people are getting. I was under the impression the budget was public knowledge weeks ago, the superintendent's proposed budget.
But it was also there was a presentation as well. So we've had, and we also had, but we've also had Board of Finance. So, I mean, so yeah,
The
so go ahead.
presentation obviously includes the information
I
I
understand.
want to share.
Go ahead.
But so I have a few questions. Some of them, if I can't speak now, not being able to speak about previous budgets, but having information in here about previous budgets doesn't seem to be in line. Those are.
We're just going to ask questions about this budget. So
Okay,
if we can
so-
try to do that, that would be great.
So I have maybe process related questions. What happens, the pie chart that you was in the presentation says 97% is fixed, 3% is discretionary. Is that right?
Yes.
That's of the total budget. So of a $27 million budget, that's about over $800,000 that is discretionary. And I'm just noting that for now. What happens to the delta in the dollars and the fixed costs once the actuals are reflected? So we project line items, right? We have a projection for teacher salaries, a projection for supplies. And then at the end of the year, or maybe in October, when all the teachers are hired, you have leftovers in that line item. What happens to those delta dollars?
So that, I think this actually sort of answers a question that was made at public comment. So those extra dollars are how we talked about doing this library space. So, and when there's surplus with things that we can do that are in our 10-year capital plan, rather than coming back to the towns and asking for more money, we can do line item transfers. We're different than a municipality. We can do line item transfers with board approval. And some of the deltas return to the towns as a surplus as well.
Okay. And it's part of, hopefully it's okay if I'm having kind of a conversation. So obviously there was a return of some value to us, right? This year, each town got XYZ number. How do you determine how much you're giving back to the town and how much you're spending? Is that the Board of Ed that vote, you propose, oh, we want to spend this much on the library, and then the Board of Ed votes, yes, let's do that? What is that process?
Correct. Throughout the year at our monthly, sometimes bi-monthly Finance and Operations Committee, we talk about what point we are in the budget cycle, what we have left, what projects are on the horizon, where we've had savings, where we've had overruns. And we talk about that as a group. And then whatever comes out of the Finance and Operations Committee is voted on by the board.
Okay. And is there limitations to, are there limitations? So I know there's departmental, maybe you can only move certain money within departments or something like, or 2%, is it 2% of the budget, which still, then you're at 600,000, 700,000 is.
So there's board policy that
Okay.
talks about what we can transfer and what the limitations are. So within our budget, we can transfer between object codes without board approval. So your 100s, your 200s, your 300s. Once you move money between object codes, so if you're removing salaries to benefits or purchase services to other purchase services, that requires board approval. So that first goes before the Finance Committee and then it goes before the Board of Ed.
Okay. So if you're going to answer this, I don't know what the historical trend is for the budget requests. Has there been a request to increase every year for the last 10 or 20 years? Is there what years have been 0-year requests? Do you have that historical?
I have
data?
a photo paper and Eric has it. So he'd be happy to give that to you that I've given to him for the last 17 years. He has that for you.
Okay. And so
He can give that to you.
Okay, but that might influence some of my,
It-
and maybe what I would like to be reflected in the minutes for tonight is how often has there been an increase request?
So it fluctuates.
Okay,
It rarely decreases, but it has decreased.
understandable. Okay,
It does stay flat at times, but most years it increases with 70 to 80% of our budget being based on salaries and benefits. Those tend to go up every year. So the budget does tend to increase every year, but there are years where it's flat and there are years where it's decreased.
okay. I will look at that in detail along with the budget, but I still want it to be known publicly, right? So part of what I kept asking at the presentation last week to the Board of Finance was that 3%. I know there's some specific things that completely understandably are being asked for. It's like totals of 55,000, right? A trip, basketball uniforms, and a few other things, STEM boxes. But that is just the increase to that 3%. But there's over $800,000 that makes up that 3%. I didn't have the information before 20 minutes ago that, I still have to go through in great detail to look at what makes up the discretionary funds. So can you give me general outline of what totals the discretionary funds?
Sure. All of our enrichment programs, so after-school programs, clubs, activities, the arts, all of our sports programs, teacher professional development to keep teachers cutting edge in instruction and keeping the school safe, and any other related service that students get the benefit of that enriches their school day before or after school, those kinds of things.
Okay.
And anybody can push back if I'm missing something. Nicole, I know you're the eye in the sky on these things, but that's my list.
It's also all of our consumable supplies
Supplies. Okay. That's
throughout the district, and also all of our non-facility related equipment. So if you needed a scanner or a smart board or seating, any kind of equipment that's purchased for instructional purposes.
okay. Because it's hard for me to read this pie chart because it's gray in the handout tonight. So is this available in color by any chance?
It's up on the website.
It
in
is.
color.
Okay. So going back to like that 522,000 that was used for the library, was that within one budget year or is that a savings totaled over several budget years?
That was within one budget year.
So so I also read minutes from June 2025. There was at that point 8% of the budget remaining compared to the year before, 9.66% of the budget remaining. And that is where you proposed that 552,000 is the number I see in here be used on the library. So I'm assuming.
I just want to remind you that we're really talking about this budget and we're talking about last year's budget. So, and we're also
So-
going into 7.5 minutes.
I'm going to relate the decision-making
Okay.
to request a 3% increase when that is almost 2% of the entire budget.
Mhm.
So and if you had 8% in extra money last year and 9.6% 6% the year before, and I work for a university, we cut endowments, right? We have to cut percentages of our budgets.
Mhm.
We're cutting contingencies on our projects.
Mhm.
Is there a more strategic way so that maybe there's less fat on this budget? So by the end of the year, there's 4% remaining.
Stephanie, you want to say something?
Yeah, without answering it by going
Yeah.
into the weeds of last year's
Mm.
budget. I totally understand what you're saying, but I don't want the insinuation to be, and we know that it isn't, that we aren't every year renovating new libraries, that hasn't been a consistent thing happening in each of our buildings, that we are,
I think
I
it's
don't,
been,
I don't want to
it's never been renovated.
but otherwise, I'd say we'd have brand new cafeterias and we'd have all new facilities. But right, so going back to what could have specifically happened in one particular year that created a vacuum where we were able to take advantage of those funds is not a thing that's happening year over year. And so I just want that to be out in the community because otherwise our facilities would all be, if we were having that kind of quote unquote fat every year, we would have far diminished, reason to use, our capital projects. Like that list would be a lot smaller.
Right.
So I understand why you're bringing it up, and it's a fair question to ask whether or not consistently year over year, are we creating budgets that are larger than they should be? But that's really an anomaly. And that's something that if anybody wanted to, you could go back and look at previous budgets. And then you could also look at the money that's being returned to the town. That's kind of homework that someone could do outside of this meeting, because that's going to be a much longer, larger discussion.
That's right.
So I just want to throw a comment out into there that I know where you're coming with this, but I don't want the insinuation. I certainly don't want the community to start thinking that, every year there are massive projects that we're able to
My question didn't
capitalize
mean
on.
to imply that. It was because in this line item, in the Board of Ed minutes, it says there was 8% last year and then 9.66% the year before. So that's the 2 years that I have a frame of reference for in your minutes. And so if I refer to that, then asking us for 3% increase this year seems redundant, because you could still have 5% left over and we're struggling. And so that's what we're asking for, is to say, okay, and there are some things, I mean, I do have to look at this more detailed, and like a very minor thing is LED upgrades. I think one of the projects that you proposed, that's not a need, it's a want. My degree's in civil engineering, very energy aware, but it's minimal dollars, but those minimal dollars add up, and they're adding up.
I agree. There's also a list that, you could ask for, anybody could ask for from our facilities director about.
And we would also encourage you to come to a facilities meeting where you could sit down and look at the capital list so that you could pick and choose, because I think that list is very long, and it is it's a 10-year out list. And I think that for a 3% increase in budget, I think that they're very mindful about what it is that they're picking and choosing. And you're right, it is minimal,
But
which
we
is why
also
they
have to chip away at
right a
some of
little
the-
bit each year, so that they
chip away
don't,
at some of those
so that
projects.
list doesn't get extra long, so that we're asking for much more down the road.
And if we're only asking for 5,500, we can't
That's
tackle the
right.
big projects.
That's
We
right.
have to tackle some of the little things.
And so we're moving on now to 12 minutes, and I really want to be able to
Just
give
say
other
one more
people.
thing about the
Please.
LED conversions. We've been doing LED conversions throughout the district, and we've seen a noticeable decrease in our utilities, our electric bill, which has climbed exponentially. We're also finding it harder with the age of the fixtures in our classrooms to get replacement parts and bulbs. So it's not really a want, it is a necessity for those reasons, because we don't want to spend exponentially more on parts we have to hunt down in these aging fixtures when we could upgrade them to LED and also get a savings from our electricity bill.
I'm very, very familiar with that kind of strategy. So, again, I really haven't had, like many of us, I think, much time to digest it. So leaving on that is,
Can I also just say there's also two more board meetings where the budget will be discussed again. Tonight isn't the last time you have an opportunity to discuss it.
Okay.
Generally, we don't prepare the Board of Education budget book until the board is ready to adopt its budget, but we put it out in draft specifically so people had longer to look at it.
okay. And that's why I'm here. I want, to share how I'm looking at it, and I will continue to look at it. And again, it's, this is supposed to be in a positive, taking it in a positive strategic, this is a workshop, not a, a telling anybody kind of forum. So I happen to bring some new ideas that I'm hoping that you guys will consider as we also work on our end to try to support our community in a way that's sustainable for us to remain a part of this community, this region, as we have been, as long as I've known it, and not create a place where families can't be anymore, because right now we're the cheapest of the three towns to live in, and soon that might not be the case, and this could all change, and that's not what we want to see. So anyway, those are my questions for now. I don't know if it's possible for me to email questions directly to you.
Julie, you can reach out to me anytime. You could, if you want to come to my office and sit and really get in the weeds, we can do that too.
Okay, fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
Total number of employees in the district?
It's 197.8, I believe. It's on page
You have 0.8 employees.
197.8. It's on page 6.
0.8 employee.
So we have some, so if you have if you have an employee who works part-time, 20 hours a week, that's a 0.5.
That's a 0.5. Okay. All right. So, what was the number again? Sorry.
197.8.
Any other questions? Please. I think we are, because I was going to move on to comments and questions from the board again.
Oh, so I'll
So
let you move
if there's
on
no
then,
other
and I'll
questions, I was going to move on to,
do that. Okay.
please.
I want to say to everyone sitting out here that considering my comments, I don't want to come off abrasive. I think it's really important for the community to show up. I think it's really great when we get this kind of engagement because I think it fosters that communication. It's good to know what specifically certain communities have questions about. And this is the first time we've done this in at least the 8 to 10 years I've been on and off the board. So I appreciate that. I know this is it's difficult to come up and to talk in front of everybody. I hate public speaking as well, even though I sit in this chair. So I just, thanks to those who came up and talked. I think they're good questions to have. If they're, if there's a way to keep that engagement going, that's great. But I think it helps all of us to have that ability, because often with public comment, we don't get to say anything either. That's just kind of the structure to keep that meeting moving.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to say thanks. I'm
Yeah.
glad that we're doing this. I'm glad that people came up. I'm glad that people showed up tonight. It shows community engagement, and I think that's great.
Yeah, no, thank you. I did want to answer one of, I think it was, there's two Erics. So Eric's comment. So your question about the consolidation versus for the schools, I would direct you to Carolyn Dwyer since she's on the intermunicipal committee. And so she would be able to answer those questions for you. That would be, I hope, more clear for you because she is on the committee and now Eric is on, but Carolyn's been on since the beginning. So she would be able to hopefully answer all of your questions and be able to be more thorough for you. So. I think that being able to share the information that our committee has been working on for the last 18 months, you could at least be able to share that information with him. So that would be clear. I would hope that you would be able to do so. Right? Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. So, yeah, and I just, I think for me personally, I'm sad tonight because I think that, we have worked so hard over the last several years to create a team of three towns. And I'm really disappointed to see a feeling of division tonight and over the last couple of weeks. And I'm really trying hard to figure out how to make this work. And I'm struggling because I feel that I understand the struggles that Bridgewater is having. I really am. And I'm also feeling that there's this sense of not working together at the same time. And I don't know how to make this work. I'm feeling that all the work that we've done over the last 2 years is feeling different. And so a few weeks ago when I was standing up there, and I still mean it, in terms of our intermunicipal committee, even when we have difficult times, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to still come to the table every single time, because that's my promise. But I'm feeling that there's this sense of creating something different, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I am going to come to the table. I really am, and I'm going to be transparent, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to work with everybody every single time, and I'm going to be that's my promise, and that's it. And I'm gonna be I'm gonna work with integrity, and I'm going to do my best, because I wear my feelings on my sleeve, so I get frustrated. And unfortunately, there's no way of hiding that. It is genetic, and it is a cross to bear in my life that no matter what medication, there's nothing I can do about it. It's my mother's cross that I just have been given. But I am as honest, and I also will 100% say how I feel, but I will honestly work with everybody. But I will also hold everybody else to the same standard. And so that is how I feel. So I will do everything that I can to do that, and will work with Bridgewater leadership as much as I do with the leadership and with the board members that I have here with Bridgewater and with Roxbury, and I will do that with Bridgewater. But I am feeling sad tonight because I didn't see this coming, even with, I just didn't. And so I don't even know if that's even the right thing to say, but I just have to speak from the heart. But I will be at the table every single time, and I will work with everybody. So with that, is there any other comments?
Yeah, I just have one more comment, and I know it already came up in the meeting, but I think it bears repeating. I think we should be very proud, maybe is the wrong word, but we have a budget whose increase is below the rate of inflation. And there is not a lot right now in any of our lives, probably across the board, where you can say that that is true, especially when labor is going up, materials are going up, services are going up. Pretty much everything that's reflected in this budget is going up by a greater rate than the overall budget. And I think that is a testament to a lot of the hard work that's been put into it, a lot of the thoughtfulness that's put into it. And while we are all feeling the effects of inflation across the board, to scrutinize the budget of something that's so important to our communities when it is being delivered in a very well thought out manner, I think is probably the wrong move. And if anything, we should really embrace the fact that we were able to deliver a budget that
many regions could have done.
Exactly, and that many of the regions around us were not able to do this year.
I agree. Thank you for saying that, Christine. I couldn't say it that way, but thank you. I agree. So thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, please.
I just want to thank you for coming out, everyone. And I want to thank you for your words, your well thought out words, your well expressed words. I want to thank you for your passion for our town. I am a Bridgewater resident. I have not been here very long. We purchased our house in 2019. We moved here for many reasons, because of the beautiful town, because of so many different things, because of the camaraderie, because of the residents. I am a very proud member of this board. And I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But I also hear what everyone here is saying. I know the hard work that Nicole has put into this budget. I respect the hard work that everyone here has put into this budget, but I also hear you. I'm interested to hear, after you looking at this budget, I'm interested to hear what you have to say at our next workshop. I'm interested to hear what you have to say and what our response is going to be. We're not here to completely shut you down. We're not here to shut anyone down. We're here to listen to you. We're here to work together. That's what this is about. Okay? But this is a really good budget. I am an educator. I also work with many board members in other towns that are pulling their hair out because they cannot get a budget that's even remotely close to our numbers. The teachers are going crazy. The townspeople, the municipalities are going crazy. And this is a really good budget. But I hear you. And I hear what you're saying about the future of Bridgewater. And I know that that's very worrisome. But I just want to say, I hear you, I feel you, and I thank you for bringing your concerns here. And I love our town. I really do. So thank you.
Yeah, please.
So I went over the budget this weekend at the request of Carolyn and Eric, and I did come up with nothing for this year for this budget, but perhaps a longer term solution that I'm sure Carolyn will share with Eric later. But I agree with Christine and with Vicky. We've looked at this budget. It's fairly lean. And I think we have to look at what our budgets give us. Nicole does a phenomenal job. She enters into these, agreements with other towns, and she buys fuel cheap, and she fixed our or our cell phone, not cell phone, our regular phone problem, and she got money back. And she's always doing that. She's like the queen of cutting coupons and getting us everything that she can get us. And she does 3 jobs. She does the jobs of 3 separate people. But I think we have to look at the overall. And the overall is, and I realize you haven't had a whole lot of time to go over it, no one has said this is unreasonable, this line item is unreasonable. Everything is up. Travel is up. Fuel is up. Art supplies are up. Everything is up. Could we cut some of that out? Probably. But then here's what happens. Our kids suffer. Our kids don't win Halo Awards. If we cut out the planetarium and we get rid of that program, the kid that decided to major in meteorology because now he has a planetarium doesn't do that. Do our kids, if we cut our teachers' salaries or our superintendent, do they end up at the Ivies that they are, or the great college they are, or the public Ivies? Maybe not. Are they winning Halo Awards? Are they winning 3 state championships? For a teeny little school in 1 year to win 3 state championships, that was incredible. And all of it's little, but it means something. It means school spirit. It means these kids wanting to come here. It means they want to excel. And everybody on this board, the kids come first. I live in Bridgewater. I pay taxes. I pay a lot of taxes. And yes, I would like to cut down those taxes, but not at the expense of the kids. Justin Ongley, Vicky, and myself, our kids are out of here this year. It would be very simple for us to say, my kid's done. Yeah, we can cut a little bit. My kid's done. My son, and Carolyn will remember this, is graduating UConn this year. He is headed to medical school because of here. This is the kid that when he graduated here, and I said, oh my God, how's calculus? He goes, it's a breeze. Mrs. Marr taught me everything I needed to know. But he is the kid that stood up there 5, 6, 7 years ago under 3 or 4 superintendents ago when they wanted to shut Burnham. My son stood up there and said, I have 2 brothers at Burnham. I got a great education. Do not give them less than what you gave me. And I am saying to everyone in Bridgewater, to everyone in Washington, to everyone in Roxbury, because everyone on this board gets it, we will not, my kid's out of here. I will not give anybody else's child less than what my child had. So we will be lean. We are not building a rock climbing wall. We unfortunately are giving up, as Don said last week, a school psychologist. And if anybody has seen what goes on today with kids and anxiety and depression, we could use another school psychologist.
Absolutely.
I'm not willing to give up the teachers. I'm not willing to give up the education. And I'm not willing to send my kids to Brookfield or Newtown for high school or for middle school or for elementary school. When you move into a town, the first thing anybody asks, how are the schools? How are the schools? Do they have good schools? How are the schools? Nobody's asking how the park is. They're asking how the schools are. So yes, this board is willing to work with all three towns, and we do have a great relationship, and this board has a great relationship together. There is no, oh, she's from Washington, I'm voting against whatever Christine wants. That just doesn't happen. We took an oath that we would give our kids the best education we can give them. Yes, within reason, and that's what we are, that's what I vowed to do, and that's what I'm going to do, and I think that's what everybody here is going to do.
Here, here.
Well
Yeah.
done.
We have a very unique board here. We are not against each other because we are from a certain town. We are unified. We are as one here. And our first and foremost priority are the students here. And I tell people all the time, I took my son out of Danbury schools because he gets a private school education in a public school setting. And that's why I moved here.
Right. Typically, Julie, I'm so sorry. Once the public comment's done, it's only the board that speaks right now. I'm sorry. That's just the way the board runs. I'm not trying to be difficult. That's just, the public can't speak. It's just how the board runs. I'm sorry. I'm not trying, I'm sorry. It's board time. I'm sorry. Thank you. Mary.
Actually, I've lived in Washington since 1980. I also came here before I even had children. I bought the land in Washington that I built my house on. And we did that. And the reason that we moved to Washington was because I asked some of the Region 15 teachers that I happened to live were my neighbors, what's the best school system around? And this was it. So I put forth looking for a piece of land that was in one of the three towns. Washington just happened to be the one that won. And I'm glad that I did. My boys are successful. They graduated from here, and I wouldn't have it any other way. This is the second time I've been on this board, and I hope that we always can do things that's best for the kids. I don't want to cut anything that's best. Wait, you said best. I can't say it any better
Yeah,
than you
no,
did.
Angela, you
That's
did
exactly
beautiful.
how I feel. And Nicole has done a fabulous job for us over and over again. I can't even imagine how much money we would have spent on other things had it not been for Nicole. Nicole looks for every penny that she can to save, and that is
Yes.
something that's priceless.
And I also just need to give a shout out because Don has done an amazing job at sharing the information and being
yes.
willing to make accommodations to talk to whoever needs to have a conversation. And he's done a beautiful job at really talking with the boards of finance and reiterating the budget. And I'm really proud of the work both of them have done. And I couldn't ask for a better team. So they have been amazing. Does anybody else want to say anything? I think we should all sing Kumbaya next. That's what I think. Okay, so I would just like to now, I think we're moving on to our last item, which is, are there any motions to make any changes to the budget?
I don't see this on the agenda. Has there been a new agenda sent out?
No, but I was told that I have to ask, so I am doing what I'm told. So I'm just putting it out there to make sure that I do this. Nicole?
Alex, during a workshop, you can speak to what changes you'd like the board to consider.
So if there are no motions, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Thank you.